It's 3 a.m. The world is silent, but inside your head, it's deafening. You are replaying a conversation you had 3 years ago. You're dissecting a look your boss gave you at lunch. You're imagining 100 different versions of a future that hasn't happened yet. And in 99 of them, things go wrong. You want to sleep. You want to breathe. You want to just be. But your brain has other plans. It has picked up a thread of worry, and it is pulling and pulling until your entire sense of peace has unraveled. If this sounds familiar, I need you to know something. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are caught in the gears of a highly sophisticated evolutionary survival mechanism that has gone into overdrive. Today, we aren't just going to talk about how to stop overthinking. We are going to go into the basement of your subconscious. We are going to look at the why, the how, and the specific psychological traps that keep you running on a hamster wheel of what-ifs. By the end of this, you won't just understand your overthinking, you'll know how to outsmart it. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you a question for the comments, and I want you to be honest because someone else needs to see they aren't alone. What is the one thought, memory, or fear that your brain currently has on repeat? Write it down. Once you name the monster, it starts to lose its power. We often call overthinking a bad habit, but it's actually more like a safety glitch. In the world of psychology, this is known as rumination. To ruminate literally means to chew the cud. It's what cows do when they eat, swallow, and then bring the food back up to chew it again. Your brain is doing the same thing with your problems. It's bringing them back up over and over, hoping that if it chews on them one more time, it will finally be able to digest them. But here's the problem. Some things aren't meant to be solved by thinking. They are meant to be accepted, or they are meant to be felt. Why does our brain do this? We have to go back to the savannah. Thousands of years ago, if you made a social mistake or missed a sign of danger, you died. Your brain developed a negative bias. It is hardwired to prioritize threats over rewards. Overthinking is just your brain's attempt to simulate every possible danger so it can keep you safe. Your brain doesn't care if you're happy. It only cares that you're alive. It replays that embarrassing moment from the party because it's trying to teach you how to avoid social death next time. It's an ancient software running on modern hardware, and it's causing a system crash. But there is a darker side to overthinking that we rarely talk about. The illusion of control. For many of us, overthinking is a way to avoid feeling helpless. As long as we are thinking about a problem, it feels like we are doing something about it. We mistake worry for work. We think that if we worry enough about a plane crash, the plane won't crash. We think that if we analyze our partner's tone of voice for 5 hours, we can prevent a breakup. It's a superstition. It's a way to buffer ourselves against the terrifying reality that we cannot control everything. Overthinking is the waiting room of life. It's where we sit when we're too afraid to act and too anxious to rest. Let's look at the analysis paralysis trap. Have you ever noticed that the more you think about a choice, the more difficult it becomes? This is because your brain has a limited amount of cognitive load. Every what if you generate takes up space in your working memory. Eventually, you reach a point of decision fatigue. Your brain becomes so cluttered with possibilities that it loses the ability to distinguish between a small detail and a major consequence. This is why overthinkers often feel mentally paralyzed. You aren't lazy, you're just carrying too many heavy thoughts to move. And then there's the social mirror effect. Overthinkers are often high empathy people. You are hyper-aware of how others perceive you. You spend hours wondering, what did they mean by that? Or, did I sound stupid? In psychology, this is called the spotlight effect. We overestimate how much people are noticing our flaws. Here is a liberating truth. Most people are too busy overthinking their own lives to spend more than 5 seconds thinking about yours. You are replaying a movie where you are the lead actor, but everyone else is just a background extra in their own film. So, how do we break the loop? How do we stop the replay button from being stuck? The first step is cognitive diffusion. Most of us live inside our thoughts. If a thought says, I'm a failure, we believe it as a fact. Cognitive diffusion is the act of stepping back and observing the thought. Instead of saying, I am a failure, you say, I am having the thought that I am a failure. It sounds like a small shift, but it creates a gap. It reminds you that you are the sky, and your thoughts are just the clouds passing through. The clouds might be dark, they might be stormy, but they are not the sky. The second step is the worry window. If you try to stop overthinking completely, it will only get louder. It's like telling someone, don't think of a pink elephant. Instead, give your brain a scheduled time to obsess. Set a timer for 15 minutes at 5 p.m. During that time, you're allowed to worry as much as you want. Write it down, scream it out, but when the timer goes off, the worry window is closed. If a stressful thought pops up at 10:30 a.m., you tell yourself, not now, I have an appointment for that at 5 hours. This teaches your brain that it doesn't need to be on high alert 24/7. The third step is grounding through action. Overthinking is a top-heavy state. You are all in your head and not in your body. To break the cycle, you have to move. Clean a drawer, go for a run, cold water on your face. Physical sensation interrupts the neural loops of the prefrontal cortex. You cannot think your way out of a thought hole. You have to act your way out. The fourth step is the so what ladder, also known as the downward arrow technique. Overthinking lives in the hazy, foggy region of what if, but it survives because we never actually finish the sentence. We stop at the scary part. To break this, you must follow the fear to its logical conclusion. Ask yourself, if this thing I'm worried about actually happens, so what? If your brain says, I might have offended my friend, you ask, so what? Then they might be mad at me. So what? Then we might have a difficult conversation. So what? Then I'll apologize and we will either move past it or I'll learn who my true friends are. By climbing down the ladder, you realize that even your worst-case scenario is a survivable event with a set of actions attached to it. You move from a state of vague terror to a state of tactical problem-solving. The fifth step is the crave 555 perspective filter. When you are caught in a mental loop, your brain has lost its sense of scale. You are treating a typo in an email with the same biological urgency as a lion chasing you through the grass. To regain your sense of proportion, ask 3 questions. Will this matter in 5 minutes? Will this matter in 5 months? Will this matter in 5 years? Most of the things that keep us awake at night fail the 5-month test, and almost none of them pass the 5-year test. This technique forces your prefrontal cortex to zoom out, shifting your perspective from the microscopic drama of the moment to the panoramic view of your life. It reminds your nervous system that this moment is a pebble, not a mountain. The 6th step is externalizing the narrator. One of the reasons overthinking is so damaging is that the voice in your head sounds exactly like you. It feels like the voice of truth. Step 6 is to give that voice a name, and not a cool name. Give it a name that makes it impossible to take seriously. Call it Nervous Neville or Panic Patty. When the spiral starts, instead of saying, I'm so worried, you say, oh, look, Nervous Neville is doing that thing again where he tries to predict the future with zero evidence. By separating your identity from the thought, you stop being the person in the movie and become the person watching the movie. You become the observer, and the observer is always safe. The 7th step is the acceptance of the messy middle. Overthinking is often a symptom of perfectionism. You replay the past because you wanted it to be perfect, and you obsess over the future because you want it to be certain, but life is inherently messy and deeply uncertain. Step 7 is a radical mental shift. You must give yourself the permission to be C-grade. Tell yourself, it's okay if that conversation was a little awkward. It's okay if I don't know exactly how this turns out. When you lower the stakes and accept that being a human involves making mistakes and being misunderstood, the brain stops feeling the need to scan for errors every 3 seconds. You trade the exhaustion of being right for the freedom of being real. The 8th step is OGS, sensory interruption, or the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. Overthinking is a top-heavy state. You have literally migrated into your head and abandoned your body. To snap the loop, you have to force your brain to process new external data. Stop what you're doing and name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This isn't just a distraction. It is a neurological bypass. It forces your brain to shift its energy from the internal default mode network, where rumination happens, to the task-positive network and the sensory cortex. You are literally pulling the plug on the projector and walking out into the sunlight. The 9th step is ritualizing the brain dump. Your brain keeps replaying thoughts because it doesn't trust you to remember them. It thinks it's doing you a favor by keeping that worry active. To satisfy this survival instinct, you must use a physical memory. Take a pen and paper, not a screen, but physical paper, and write down everything currently swirling in your head. No filters, no grammar, just a raw data dump. Once it is written down, your brain receives a safety signal. It sees that the information is stored in the physical world and finally grants itself permission to let go of the mental grip. You aren't just writing, you are clearing the cache of your internal computer so it can stop running hot. The 10th and final step is the pivot to the next right step. Overthinking is a state of analysis paralysis. It is motion without progress. The only true antidote to a thought is an action. Once you've identified the worry, ask yourself, what is the smallest, easiest physical action I can take right now to address this? If you're worried about your health, go drink a glass of water. If you're worried about a project, write the first sentence. If you're worried about a relationship, send a simple "thinking of you" text. Action shifts you from the role of a victim of circumstance to the architect of your reality. It proves to your brain that you are not helpless, and once the body starts moving, the mind has no choice but to follow. The version of the story you tell yourself in your head at 3 a.m. is almost never the truth. It is a distorted, exaggerated, fear-based hallucination. You have spent enough of your life being a prisoner to your own imagination. It's time to come back to the present. The present is the only place where you have any power. Before we go, which of these steps from 1 to 10 feels like the hardest one for you to try? Let's discuss in the comments why that particular step feels difficult. Often, the step we resist the most is the one that holds the key to our freedom. Thank you for watching, and for having the courage to look at your own mind. You aren't your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. And today, you just learned how to turn the volume down. See you in the next one.